All right, so let's revisit this day of the week thing from earlier here. Const day of the week is Friday, and then I'm checking if it's Monday, if it's Saturday, or if it's Friday. Now we've got a whole bunch of other days, and let's say for each of the other days, so if day of week is equal to Tuesday, I want to console.log meh, like meh, not a great day. And then I want to do the same thing for every other day. So that leaves us, let's see, we've got Monday, Tuesday, I've got Wednesday, which I can never, Wednesday, is that right? Oh boy. And then we've got Thursday, and then Sunday. Well, you know, Sunday's not really meh, but if I wanted to, I could put that in here too. They all have the same outcome. This seems a bit redundant. It's not redundant, but it seems unnecessary. And that's because it is. There is a better way of doing this, but just to show what I mean, right? I have Thursday as the day of the week, we get meh. If I have Tuesday as a day of the week, we get a big fat meh. So it would be great if I could combine them. They're kind of the otherwise, the last case, right? I'm checking, singling out Monday, Saturday, and Friday. Everything else, I just want to print out meh. So we have a way of doing that. It is the else statement. It's part of our conditional here. So else is going to be the last part. If you have an else, you don't have to, but if you do, it's the last piece of the entire conditional. And we don't specify any condition. We don't have parentheses. It's simply a catch-all. It's going to run as the last thing. If nothing else matched first, if nothing else was true along this journey, then do this. Think of it as just, if nothing else was true, do this. All right, I'm here. Nothing else was true, I'm going to run. But if anything was true along the way, then our conditional is done. We never hit that else. So here I'm using it. In this case, rating is negative 99. I'm checking, is it 3? Nope. Else if 2? Nope. Else if rating is 1? No. And then instead of having else if 0 and negative 1 and negative 2 in every possible option, I can simply add else. If it's anything else, then print out invalid rating. So I could rewrite what I have right here. Instead of doing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and singling them out, I can simply do else. It's just a catch-all. Console.log meh. So I don't have to specify if it's equal to Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. I don't need that at all. I'm simply saying otherwise. So now we still get meh, right? I can make it Tuesday. I could even prompt a user if I wanted to. Prompt, enter a day. Now, one thing to consider is that I have these uppercased, so we'll need a user to either enter it uppercased. So here it's prompting me. I'll enter Monday, uppercased or capitalized. I'll refresh again. Let's do Wednesday. I get meh. Refresh again. I'll do Friday. Fridays are decent, especially after work. Now, one thing that is, it's not problematic, but to be aware of, I can type anything in here and I'll get meh. So we're not checking to see if it's, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, if it's a valid day of the week. I'm just looking to see if it's Monday, Saturday, Friday, or literally anything else. It could be 0, and I'm still going to get meh. So keep that in mind. And another way we could improve that is by downcasing everything or by uppercasing everything. So we can eliminate any user capitalization. So we know how to do that. Let's do to lowercase. So whatever the user enters, they might type Monday like this for some reason. We're going to lowercase it, and we'll end up with all lowercase Monday. And then we can compare that to all lowercase right here. So Saturday lowercase, Friday. We're sort of getting everything on a level playing field. We're neutralizing all of the capitalization. And we could go the other way. We could capitalize everything and make it all caps. So now I should be able to type in Monday like that and still see, ugh, I hate Mondays. Or Friday in all lowercase except for a capital A. Fridays are decent. Okay, so that's the basic concept of else. It's a catch-all. It's a little bit, it's not a great use here because we're not ensuring that your day of the week is valid, right? You could type 0 or pink or something. The other thing I'll show you is how we could rewrite this here. Here, this is kind of silly to check if one number is less than 0.5, do this, and then just right afterwards, check if that exact same number is greater than or equal to 0.5. Well, it's only one of these, right? It's either or in this situation. So I could simplify this whole thing by deleting that if and then just adding my else right here. Console.log, your number is greater than 0.5, right? If it's not less than, technically, I guess your number is greater or equal, is possible, than 0.5. So I don't need that second if statement, right? These are links. It's only one or the other. And then if I really wanted to do this nicely, so I could print the random in both places, or what's nicer is just to print the random after the fact so that I don't have to duplicate that code. I want it to happen no matter what. So only one of these runs, and then this always runs. So let's see what we get. Got to refresh my page here. Your number is less than 0.5. Less, greater. There we go. Less. So it's just either or. But that's not always the case, as we've seen. We can have as many else ifs as we want. We don't have to even have an else. You can just have an if on its own. You can have an if and an else if. But if you want to catch all, we can use an else. So I could update this code here for our age. Comment this out, where we're checking for a user's age or somebody's age. And I have a couple of options. So right now I'm saying if you're greater than 65, you're an adult. And then I could do else. Anything else, we'll say console.log, you are a senior, you pay $10. Okay? Now, we technically have a small issue here, which is that age could be super, super massive. It could be 55,000 kajillion billion. Not a real number, but it could be 500, right? And it's going to hit this else. But we can worry about that later. So let's do 89. Refresh the page. You are a senior. You pay 10. So yes, we're still not accounting for every possible situation, right? Our age could be, technically right now you could have a negative age, and it's still going to trigger this right here because negative 100 is less than 5. You are a baby, you get in for free. But we'll learn how to tighten these things up. There's a lot we could do. First of all, we're not even checking if age is a number. Then we're also, allowing super large ages. You could have 890, and you'll still be considered a senior. We can have very tiny ages. You're considered a baby. This is kind of silly in the first place, but we'll see better ways of combining logic together to make more complicated statements. But the core mechanic here of having an if, and then optional else ifs, and an optional else at the end, that is never going to change. So just to be very clear, we can have an if on its own. We can have an if and then an else. We can have an if and then else ifs. We can have an if with else if and then an else. In all cases, if we ever have an else, it comes at the end, just a pure else. It's the last thing. And if we ever have an else if, it must come after the initial if or another else if. So I could have something like this. So I don't know if that was at all, that might have just confused you more. But we always have an if. At a bare minimum, if we're going to have any sort of conditional, there's got to be an if. We can't have an else on its own or an else if. They are relative to our first if. Then we can just have an if else for a yes or no, sort of binary, this or that. We can have 10 else ifs and then an else at the end. Anyway, I think hopefully that's clear. We'll get a lot of practice with this stuff. So that's the basics of making decisions. Now what we're going to add on are just fancier stuff inside of those parentheses. There's a lot more that we can do in there other than just checking to see if one thing is greater than or one thing is equal to another. We can start chaining things together and adding more complicated logic.